My name is Taylor Hyatt. I'm a young professional living in Ottawa. I live in a cozy little apartment downtown with a fat cat. In my spare time, you can catch me checking out new coffee shops. I'm a bit of a foodie. I like to drag my friends on restaurant finding adventures. I have a linguistics degree from Carleton University. What else do you need to know? Growing up as a young girl with a disability, there were a lot of expectations on me that I would be independent and be able to manage my own life. Now I love my life. I love being able to have my own apartment and do many of the same things as the average person. When I was a year and a half old, I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. Growing up, especially in school, I felt a lot of pressure. That meant that if my body didn't match up with what my classmates could do, I had to compensate somehow. I relied on my mind. I threw myself into academics. All this work of trying to prove myself has actually given me a bit of a complex. I worry about being a good friend, whether I can hold up my end of a relationship, not burden anyone, and be the one who is able to give instead of receiving all the time. It's a pretty normal thing for me to get a cold every year, but 2 years ago I got sicker than usual. To add to the problems, my wheelchair had broken down and I had no energy. I couldn't walk to the walk-in clinic. And we all know that it's pretty awkward to knock on the door of neighbors you barely know in your apartment. I started texting a bunch of friends, but they were out of town. I had to call a cab and check myself into the hospital. I got to the hospital pretty late at night. Keep in mind I was alone and tired and really sick. They ran a few tests, didn't really know what was wrong. And when the doctor came to see me, she said, "Whatever this is, it's really affecting your breathing. And if it comes to it, you might need oxygen. Is that something you would want?" I thought, well, of course I do. And then a few seconds later, she followed it up with, "Are you sure?" Apparently, I qualified for an end to my life right there. I know my situation must have looked awful. I was a disabled woman, alone, tired, and sick. I kept thinking of other people with disabilities who had been denied the supports they needed, and now it was happening to me. But as it turns out, I just had pneumonia. But the hospital visit left me shaken. I was wondering where my value comes from. Am I only valuable when working on Parliament Hill, when studying in school, when out with my friends?
What has been your greatest suffering?
My greatest suffering, contrary to what many people might believe, doesn't come from my disability. It comes from trying to live up to the ideal of independence, of not wanting to need anyone, rely on them, be a burden to them, thinking that I have to do everything on my own, thinking that I should be ashamed for needing help, feeling like my life is not worth living if I need other people. I'm afraid of inconveniencing them. I was the same person at school or at work as I was in the hospital bed that night. It's taken time for me to realize that I'm valuable for who I am, not just what I can do. And when we get that confused, it actually hinders all of us.